Okay, let's go for it. Building a simple blogging engine. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is build my blog. So let's build a very simple website. Just some standard HTML tags. I'm going to give it a title. The body is where I'm going to add some content. And what I'm going to use is that technique we've used before of replacing curly braces. And I'm going to add in content there. In fact, it might be a good idea to put a H1 at the top first. I'm actually going to add some CSS into that. I'll create a static folder, and in there, style.css. And I'm just going to do some. Let's pick a nice color for the background using the picker. Go for that. There we go. There's enough CSS, I think. So we've got a blog page that looks like that. Let's describe what a blog entry would look like. So all my blog entry is going to be is an H2. Inside that H2, I'm going to have a title. I'm going to have an H3 for the date. And then I'm going to have a P tag for the body of the entry. So the idea is this. I'm going to have this page and I'm going to replace content with as many entries as I need to. And that should hopefully allow everything to work quite well. I'm actually going to add in this, an HR, a horizontal rule, which will be a line between each entry just to break it up a little bit. Let's go on to the main fun of this, our main.py. Actually, should we make our login form first? Yeah, let's make our login form. Let's make it a text box, call it username. Make sure it's required. Do the same thing for password. And then add in a button. And that should work quite well, I think. One thing I have forgotten is on the blog page, we need a login button somewhere. So we should have a button on that page now that allows us to log in, just stuff we've seen before. Let's start building this page. So let's bring in the amount of libraries we need. So we need Flask, redirect, session, and request. Let's set the static path. That gives the entire site access to, what am I doing here? Should be the second part of that. This gives the entire site access to a static folder to hold stuff in. So that's all there now. So that should point to that static folder and our page should actually work. For index, let's load that page up. Let's do page equals blank. Let's bring the indent to this one in because that's in a weird place. Let's do f equals open log.html in read mode. Let's do page equals f.read and f.close, and then let's return page and just check for a start that things are working there. Well, that is okay to me, and if I click login, it does seem to want to go to the right place. So that's okay. We've still got our content badge there, which is going to be replaced by stuff in a minute. So let's start by getting that login page working. Make sure I spell things correctly. Bring that in there. Take this across a little bit a moment so we can just see a bit more. And we can pretty much copy and paste that code here because it's going to be login.html. And let's see what happens here. There we go. And we've got that set up. Now it's probably worth going to blog.html, stealing that, because this is a separate page, isn't it? And I was just being lazy not putting all that stuff in. So if I refresh that now, it should load a different file and we get, there we go, we get a similar looking login page, which is probably more what we wanted to. Now we then need to define what happens when they log in. So we'll define what happens when you log in with post. And we do this. We need to look in the database, see if there's anything there. Having said that, we've not actually added anything to the database yet. So I'm just going to put pass there for a minute so nothing crashes. And let's bring in the database. So I want to bring my database over here. Just hide that for a minute. Let's bring the import in. So I've got that. I'm also going to import OS while I'm there because I'll need a secret key in a moment. I'm going to, the moment it starts, I'm going to set a database login criteria. I'm going to call it actually USR. Let's just call it user. Let's just call it user. And I'm going to set that to a dictionary, which is going to have a username, which is going to be Shocking No and David, and a password, which is going to be Baldy1. Now, don't forget you could use salting and hashing to make this a little bit easier and a little bit harder for a user to guess, especially if they got the code or they were able to access the database. I'm not going to bother with this because it's a very simplistic system. Now, when I do that, what should happen is that key should get added to the database for me. I should see that increase in a second. There we go. We've got one key in there. So that means now I can take that out of there. And what I'm actually going to do is delete it completely, stop and restart it. Now that's in the database, but I'm not accessing it. So when I log in, what I need to do, I need to get the keys from the database. So keys equals db.keys. I need to check to make sure that, well, actually, no, I don't, because this is the way I do it if I had multiple users. I've got one user. So I just need to check that my key exists, actually, which it does, so I've set it myself, so I don't need to worry too much about that then. So I need to say if form, hold on, let's get the form first. Form equals request.form. So if form username is the same as db, what did we call it? We called it user name. And I'm going to copy that because it's a lot of writing there. Password is the same as the password. Then I'm going to return the redirect to send them to another page. I'm going to send them to, I'm just going to redirect them to something like login form again. So let's try that. Let's see if I can actually get logged in. So with nothing else, I get kicked back. Let's put something stupid in. There we go, I get kicked back to that page. If I go with David and Baldy1, there we go. I'm sent to the page, which is edit, but we haven't made that page yet. I'm also conscious now that we actually haven't set up the sessions values. So let's do that. So after we've set up the app, we need to set up the secret key. And remember, to do that, we need to bring in our secrets because we don't want to store that secret key inside the REPL. So secrets, and let's define our secret key. Remember, all you really need to do is type in a lot of nonsense here. And I've got it there. Now, pop it on the side, and it should give me the options once I'm in the code to bring that in. And I'm going to bring in my key there. There we go. So my secret key is in. So that means I can actually save things in the sessions now. So that means once I've logged in, if I'm successful, I'm going to set session. I'm going to set a variable called user, because why not make it the same? I'm going to make it equal to db. Actually, they're logged in. There's only one user. Let's make it equal to true, just to turn it on. We'll say, yeah, there's something there. I've logged the user in there, and then we'll redirect. Okay, which means that if I end up at the front page, I can add that simple thing in. I can say if session.get user, then return redirect /edit. So if my user's there, I send them to the edit page. Same for the login form. Same for the ability to log in. I don't want them to have the ability to log in again because that's going to mess things up. And let's stop that. Let's start that. I am now going to have to jump out into a separate window. David Baldy1. There we go. Now, if I close that and jump back onto the page, it's sending me to that edit page because it's not letting me log in. It knows I'm logged in. Of course, I haven't written the edit page yet, so let's do that. Let's pull in this index page. And actually what we're going to do is mess things up a little bit, because we don't, if the user goes to the edit page and they're not logged in, we want to kick them elsewhere. So if they've not got a user value set, send them back to just the normal / page. So that's the opposite of what we just done. I was going to open the blog up and replace the content bit with an edit box. Let's just run that, pop it out in the new tab, check that works. So log in. The login page isn't working because it's not the login page. That is the proper page. So I don't want blog.html, I want to make a page for this. So let's duplicate that and let's call it edit. So edit isn't going to have a login button, but it might have a logout button, which we can set up in a minute. And the content is going to have an add box, which I think we can probably set up there. Actually, Joe, we'll just do it here. So we'll send it to the add page when we want that to work. So the box for the title. Do the same for date and content. We called it body, didn't we, elsewhere? So let's just refresh that, see if we get the new one. We don't, because we haven't changed the code in there then. And then after that, let's go for an HR and let's bring in that stuff. Let's change our main page now. So edit doesn't read blog, it reads edit. Stop and reload. And we should end up with, there we go, place to type, place to put the body text in, place to put the date, and we're good to go actually. That body text could do with being a bigger box, so let's deal with that. Just don't bother actually, just leave it like that I think. Okay. So let's deal with how they would actually add a record then. That's /add. So let's deal with that. So it's only dealing with posts. So we need to get the output from that form. And we'll make the entry, which is going to be a dictionary, which is going to have a title. We're going to end up with a date, which is going to be date, and a body, which is going to be form body. And then I'm going to set that to the database. So database, and we're going to sort them on date, I think. So bring in the date as the key, equals entry. So that adds it. Once added, we probably want to redirect them back to the same page so they can see the new entry. So return, redirect, and that page was called /edit. So let's see how this works. Let's pull up the database, and we want to see if that key is going to change as we run it. There's one key in there at the moment. Let's do test. We'll set it to today. It is a test. And I haven't put a submit button. So let's go back and put a submit button in that form. So edit, button, type equals submit, save as the text on the button. Hopefully, I won't even need to refresh that because the HTML, there we go. So test, let's set it for yesterday. It is yesterday. Click save. It's gone back to the original page. Has that key value increased on my database? Hooray, it's increased. That means it saved something to that database. So let's write the function that actually gets the content and puts it in there so we can see that's actually working. So back to our main page. Let's write a subroutine for this. What do we call that? Do we call it entry? Entry.html. So let's get entry.html in R mode for read. Let's create entry. Entry equals f.read, f.close. So what I've got there is I've got my generic entry. Let's use a query and get all the stuff from the database. Keys equals db.keys. For key in keys, if key is not equal to user, because we don't want to actually access the user's information and put it in there, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, so outside the loop, I need to create, right, so I need to create content, which is where everything's going to go, which is nothing at the moment. For each key, I need to create this entry, which is equal to entry, so it's a copy of entry. So this entry dot replace, we're going to replace title with db key. We're going to do the same thing with date. Oh, needs a bit equals bit as well, doesn't it? Because we do need to replace it. So date body. Once replaced, what we need to do at the end of every loop is we need to say content plus equals, which appends to it this entry. That'll loop and it will do everything. And once we've got to the end of that, we return content. So that should basically get everything and pull it back. So if I just do get blogs there, and with R, let's have a look, where is it? Here we are, edit.html. We do page equals page.replace content with get blogs. That should be the same up here as well, assuming it works. We'll see. Not the login page. Okay, something's going weird with that because you can see that it's not getting, the second one is just title, date and body. So what's happening there? I think what's happened is, here we go. That needs to be in the if statement because we don't want to add the content unless that, there we go. I was adding an extra one for the user. That's the problem there. So it seems to be picking it up. Let's pop into full screen, which should give me the edit mode. Another test. Let's set that to today. Here is today. Click save. And there we go. So it's going in date order. I want it in the opposite order. So let's see if I can get that working. I've got my keys here. So what I need to do is sort my keys. Keys equals keys. I'm going to do it in reverse. Let's have a look. Actually, I reckon if I do this, that might give me the list backwards. Let's try that. Ooh, clearly not. So that's not working there. Let's see what I can do. I think there is a reverse function actually, so let's try that. Here we go. So what I've done is twofold. I've created a list version of the keys because the keys is currently not a list. And then I've used reverse as the keyword to get it backwards. So we're getting it in reverse alphabetical order now. So the only thing I think I'm missing is the ability to log out because that doesn't do anything at the moment. But log out is quite simple. Log out is creating an app root for the page. With a / in front of it. Def log out. It's going to be session.clear. And then return a redirect, probably just to the home page. So if I stop and refresh that, remember going full screen is what you need to do, because otherwise it won't pick up the sessions. Log in out then. There we go. I'm on the login page. If I log in with just nonsense, nothing happens. But if I log in with me, I'm go to my edit page. I can add new entries. Set that one for tomorrow. And click save. And there we are. We've got a very simple blogging engine, which isn't too bad actually for our skill set so far.